Afternoon tea is one of the most quintessential English customs and can be found at hotels and eateries across the country. Around this time of year at Cranfield University, dozens of chefs are hard at work behind the scenes, preparing thousands of rounds of sandwiches, topping countless scones with cream and jam, and preparing mini tarts, cakes and pastries. It's a huge operation, but one that we're always proud and excited to deliver. It is, of course, a labour of love. It's for the most prestigious event on the university calendar, your graduation. This year may be a little bit different, but we're here to help you celebrate your achievements. So why not try your hand at making your very own afternoon tea? Firstly, the finger sandwiches. Traditionally, we use fillings such as smoked salmon and cream cheese, egg mayonnaise and cress, or ham and English mustard. A classic is thin slices of cucumber sandwiched between fresh white bread with a thin sliver of butter. Absolutely gorgeous on a summer's day. You can, of course, use whatever fillings you fancy. What's important is to take off the crusts and cut each sandwich into 3 delicate fingers. Next is my favourite, dessert. Again, go for your favourites. Eclairs, chocolate brownies, fondant fancies, fruit tarts. Today's not for counting calories. Treat yourself, you've earned it. One item's essential, a non-negotiable, the keystone to any afternoon tea. And that's the humble but oh so delicious scone. Yes, you can buy them from any supermarket in the UK, but nothing's quite as good as making them at home fresh in your own kitchen. And I'm going to show you how. First, we're going to add 350 grams of self-raising flour. To that, we're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and we'll just give that a mix around to get all the dry ingredients together. Next, we're going to add 85 grams of unsalted butter, and we're going to rub that in to the flour. So, just with the tips of your fingers, break apart the butter and combine it with the flour. What we're looking for in the end is sort of a breadcrumb consistency. Make sure your butter's nice and cold for this one, it makes it easier to rub in. And keep your hands above the bowl as well, because you want it to be nice and aerated, otherwise the butter's going to melt from the temperature of your hands. It does take some time. You can use a blender if you want, but I like to do it by hand. Did you know that the custom of tea drinking dates back to the 3rd millennium BC in China? But it wasn't until the 1600s when it was popularised in England by King Charles II. It wasn't until the 19th century when the concept of an afternoon tea as we know it now first appeared in the UK. Now we're going to add 5 dessert spoons of caster sugar and just mix that around thoroughly with your breadcrumb mix. Okay, I'm going to warm this milk up in the microwave for 30 seconds. We want it warm, not hot, and then I'm going to add lemon juice to it. And that's going to split the curds from the whey and give us a creamier and shorter texture in our scone. So once your milk's warmed up, we're going to add our lemon. I find it best to roll lemon first, and that will just get the juices flowing. Then using the fork, we can squeeze the juices out a bit easier. So adding the lemon juice to the milk, obviously lemon juice is an acid, that's going to split the milk, it's going to split the fat and the watery part in the milk, and then by adding that to our scone mixture, it's going to give us a more crumbly texture, and then make it a bit creamier too. Then in with the milk, I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. We want to make a little well in the centre of the mixture, and then we're going to pour in our milk. 100 grams of sultanas. And then using a spoon, you're going to bring this all together quite swiftly. So the trick is to work this as little as possible. If it's overstirred, then your scones are likely to be slightly tough. Okay, next I'm going to lightly dust my surface. Now again, I want to treat this really gently and not overwork it, so I'm just going to fold it once, twice, and then that should do me. Press it down to about 4 centimetres in depth, and then dust a little bit of flour on top. Take a cutter, we've got a 5 centimetre cutter here, dip it into your flour, it's going to stop the scone mixture sticking, and then cut out your scones. So I've got my oven at 200 degrees centigrade, and I'm going to put the pan in there to warm up. Afternoon tea was introduced in England by the Duchess of Bedford in the year 1840. It all started because she used to have late dinners around 8 o'clock in the evening when she used to invite her friends round, sort of fashionably late. So she'd get hungry between her lunch and dinner. So she asked one of her servants to bring her some tea, and it started off with just bread and butter and some simple cakes to her room. Then her friends became involved and it turned into an event. It used to happen every day. Her friends would pop round for some tea, some cakes and some scones about 5 or 6 in the afternoon. It then spread throughout the country. Women would dress in long ball gowns with their gloves and their hats, and that's how we came to where we are today. Okay, now I'm going to glaze them with a little bit of egg wash, and that's going to help them to go a nice golden brown colour on top. Nice and delicate. We don't want to ruin them little craters we've got. They all add to the crunch and the character of the scone, I guess. Nowadays, in the average British home, afternoon tea is much more likely to be a biscuit out of the biscuit tin and a mug of tea. Only on really special occasions would we go out for afternoon tea. Okay, now they're ready to go in the oven. Because we've heated the tray beforehand, they're not going to stick, they're going to seal straight away. So we don't need any oil, we don't need any baking parchment. Okay, I'm going to pop them into the oven for 10 minutes and have a little bit of a clear down. Okay, great, our 10 minutes is up. Let's go check our scones. Beautiful. Nice and golden brown on top. I'm just going to transfer them to the cooling rack and we're going to leave them there for 10 or 15 minutes. They'll last 2 or 3 days in an airtight container, but it's always best to eat them the same day. Scones have always been a bit of a contentious subject. Half of the country call them scones, half of the country call them scones. If you go to the west of England, there's always arguments as to whether you put the jam on first or whether you put the cream on first. However you want to eat them, it doesn't really matter. Just break them open, add a nice dollop of clotted cream and a blob of strawberry or raspberry jam. Whatever you're doing, I hope you have a great day. Congratulations from me, and on behalf of all of the campus services team, we wish you the very best for the future.